Hi!
Hello.
Hi!
This is When Rom Met Com, the podcast where we break down what makes a date movie a great movie. We're currently working our way through Vanity Fair's list of the 42 best romantic comedies of all time to see if they had us at hello or were a big mistake. Huge! I'm Jack.
I'm Nora.
Joining us today is Ali Russell Shields, who is a film historian and has been working in film publicity for the past 10 years. Ali, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. An honor to be here with you both.
To kick things off, tell us, what is your history with rom-coms, and do you have a favorite?
Oh, okay. Well, it's a good question. I think of rom-coms as something that I had in common with my mother. We would go and get VHS or DVDs out every week. And I grew up, as I think you did as well, Jack, and maybe you, Nora, in the 90s and early 2000s, which I think was one of the best periods for rom-coms. So from that era, my favorites are things like Never Been Kissed, which I think you're going to be discussing. Monster-in-Law is a great one.
I've never seen Monster-in-Law.
Oh, well, you must straight after this. And then I've kind of been going back. Now I just have a voracious appetite for all films from all eras. And I'm falling in love with the Rock Hudson, Doris Day rom-coms, which are amazing. I saw one actually that, Jack, I think you would like, a Billy Crystal. Have you seen Forget Paris?
I have seen Forget Paris. I really like Forget Paris. I haven't seen it in years. I found it when I was 14 on a used VHS. Right. And I remember I found a job lot of used VHSs, and it's where a lot of my film knowledge came from. I bought all these old VHSs and I just voraciously went through them, saw some weird stuff that never needs to be seen again, and stuff like Forget Paris, which should be watched again.
Oh, great. Well, yeah, I thought of you as I was watching it. But I mean, my list of favorite films just goes on and on and on. And then one that I watched recently and loved quite controversially is Flower Drum Song, which is one of the first all-Asian cast Hollywood films from the 60s.
Isn't that a Rodgers and Hammerstein musical?
Yes.
Oh.
When I was watching it, it really made me think of The Wedding Banquet.
Yeah, I can see. Curious on your Doris Day, Rock Hudson of it all. Do you have feelings on Down with Love?
I was going to ask that.
I haven't seen it probably since it first came out, but I loved it at the time, probably because I was a kid and it was colourful and had amazing outfits, but I'm not the biggest Ewan McGregor fan.
Oh,
interesting.
Controversial.
It's one of my favourites. I'd love to know what you think if you ever rewatch it, if you can get past the Ewan McGregor of it all.
Is it on this Vanity Fair list?
It is.
Okay. Well, to be continued potentially.
As Ali has made reference to, today we're talking about The Wedding Banquet.
And this is the 2025 remake, reimagining of The Wedding Banquet. There is also the original 1993 film, just to differentiate, which we'll kind of be discussing both.
And there is also the concept of a wedding banquet in general.
Yes,
which,
there is.
Could come up. When you watch the 1993 version, it says, based on the concept of wedding banquet.
Based on marriage.
So, shall we have some stats for The Wedding Banquet?
I love stats.
This film is directed by Andrew Ahn. This is our second Andrew Ahn film in 2 weeks.
Wait, what was the other one?
Just covered Fire Island last week. They are placed right next to each other on the list. This is starring Bowen Yang, our second Bowen Yang film in 2 weeks. Lily Gladstone, Kelly Marie Tran, Han Ji-chan, Joan Chen, and yuh-jung. It was released on the 18th of April, 2025. Budget unknown. Dun, dun, dun. And at the domestic box office, it made $2 million for a worldwide gross of $2.3 million. I'm glad to say all three of us contributed to that box office. We all saw it on the big screen.
And I had to work to find a screening of it, I must say.
Yeah. We ended up seeing it at an annoying time for me. I could only find a showing that was ending at 5 to midnight.
And I'm old. I like to go to bed early.
Yeah, but we go to a cinema that you can walk home from.
That's true.
I have to get 2 trains. And this has a 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. IMDb describes it as a gay man makes a deal with his lesbian friend, a green card marriage for him in exchange for in vitro fertilization treatments for her. Plans evolve as Min's grandmother surprises them with a Korean wedding banquet.
And Vanity Fair says, here comes the bride and a new wedding banquet. Fire Island filmmaker Andrew Wan reteamed with Saturday Night Live's Bowen Yang to remake Ang Lee's fabulous 1993 wedding comedy, which centered on a closeted Taiwanese man in a long-term relationship who agrees to an arranged marriage with a woman in order to satisfy his traditional parents. In An's remake, The Wedding Banquet now follows two queer couples in Seattle, Yang's Chris and Min, Han Gi-chan, and Angela and Lee, played by Kelly Marie Tran and Oscar nominee Lily Gladstone. When the Korean Min's student visa is about to expire, Min and Lee hatch a plan. Min should marry Angela for a green card, and in exchange, Chris and Min will pay for Lee's fertility treatments. What could possibly go wrong? An's Wedding Banquet remake was positively received, proving that adding a modern touch to the best romantic comedies is always a winning formula. And that was Chris Murphy. Ali, would you like to start us off with a thought?
Yeah, I guess I'll start by saying I love this movie. I loved it the first time that I saw it in the cinema, and I loved it rewatching it in preparation for this conversation and appreciated different elements of it on the rewatch. Something I did notice on the rewatch was an Ang Lee reference in the character names, because Kelly Marie Tran plays Angela and Lily Gladstone plays Lee. And then when I was watching it with subtitles on, they call Angela Ange, which could be written Ang. And I was like, I see what they did there. Intentional or not, who knows?
It was not intentional.
It was not?
So I listened to an interview on my way here today. Lily Gladstone's character, Lee, was originally Liz, and there were a few reasons she wanted to rename the character. One, she thought it was too on the nose to play a lesbian named Liz. And the other was that Lily Gladstone has Native American heritage, and because the film was set in Seattle, she wanted to pay tribute to a Native American tribe that is based there, and so named her character after like a famous princess from that tribe, so which is Angeline. But because Kelly Marie Tran is playing Angela, they decided to have the character go by Lee. And then halfway through filming, they went, oh, Ang Lee.
I mean, I love that. I do. I like a happy little accident like that, but such a lovely idea. Just in general, I just love Ang Lee. like as a guy, every time I see him interviewed or like winning an award, I think he comes across really cuddly.
We love a cuddly guy.
Speaking of, though, you hadn't seen the original beforehand.
No, and I'll say, as a bit of a spoiler as to my opinions of it, I like Ang Lee a lot less now.
Oh.
Interesting. And even Nora and I had seen the original. We have seen it now.
Yeah.
I like the original.
I also liked it, although I have to say that my viewing experience was diminished by the fact that the subtitles were about 20 seconds delayed from the dialogue. So my brain was working so hard to put those scenes together.
My subtitles were in time, but occasionally had typos.
Poor baby. That must have been a real struggle for you.
No, it wasn't a struggle, but I was just sort of just like, it's one of those things that when you see a typo and you just notice it, and that's all you can focus on for that second.
Because sometimes I would be reading the subtitles and I'd be matching it to what the actor was doing. And I was like, no, I'm going to find out what they're saying in 20 seconds. I need to retroactively apply this to what they were doing 20 seconds ago. Speaking of the original and the quote unquote remake, it is definitely a reimagining. Like, they are two completely different films. The 1993, even with the things that I don't like about it, it was definitely really ahead of its time. And it also feels like the 2025 one, it's so of the time. It's very contemporary. Yeah. And I really like that as these two like snapshots of queer culture in two like very different times.
Well, honestly, what I was thinking watching the original this morning, similarly, I would just love like every 30 years for them to do a new Wedding Banquet.
Oh, I love that.
And just look into how we can tell this story now versus how we told that story then. Because that's what I thought was really interesting about watching these two as a piece.
And see how our rights have been dialed back in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, because theoretically you'd think, oh, well, 30 years from now, this film will be irrelevant. But you would have thought that now because like gay marriage is legal and like you would think that the story is irrelevant, but of course it's not. And no. Yeah, we're going nowhere good, are we?
But it is interesting to see how that story still changed and how the characters within it are changed. Something I really like about the modern one is how the film is originally like, you are set up for, we're going to have farce. It's going to be like, we're going to be fooling this grandma and Like, we have the whole, like, de-gayifying the house sequence, which is so fun.
We gotta de-queer the house.
Yeah, like, it's a really good sequence, and there's big laughs in that. And then about 20 seconds after the grandma arrives, she shuts the whole thing down. She's like, you are gay. He is your partner. I remember watching it for the first time and being really taken aback by that, because I did think we were going to be sitting through this whole movie of, like, it's keeping up appearances.
Yes.
It's probably going to come out at the end, but no. And then with this movie, the grandma has her own story and her own emotional arc, which fucking killed me. The grandma is played by yuh-jung in this film, and honestly, I've seen her in 2 films. She won the Oscar for Minari, completely deserved, and give her the Oscar for this as well. What a fucking performance. Genuinely, a character, we've talked about this a lot, but a character in somebody else's hands could be played so poorly, and yet, like, this is one of the most tender performances. Just the little glances she gives. The scene she has with Bowen Yang when she's just asking him about his parents. Like, yeah, it killed me. And then her scene where she finally tells Min, like, about how he has always been different and how she wishes that he had a sister. Oh my God, like, it's such a great performance. I think it might be my favorite performance of any of the movies we've covered so far.
Obviously, this is an audio format, so nobody could see that while you were describing the scene with Bowen Yang, Ali and I both just, like, put our hand in our heart and we're like, oh.
It's a really tender, lovely scene. And it is mirroring a scene from the original, which is probably my favorite part of the original, is when the father character basically just lets on, like, yeah, I know. I know that you guys are gay, and I accept you, and thank you for looking after my son. And it's a really nice moment as well. But I do think there's something really magical about the performance here. I couldn't get over it watching it. She's on my ballot this year for, like, Best Supporting Actress, easily.
For me, the beauty of this film is those familial dynamics, this found family. Also, my mom is Singaporean Chinese, so that's probably worth stating. That I think that, like, this feels like such an Asian film, and, like, those relationships with our parents are uniquely complicated, and I feel like it really comes through beautifully in this film. And yet the original, that was quite specifically Taiwanese and mainland China focused. And this one is very pan-Asian. So a Korean director, Korean character of Min, and then we've got Kelly Marie Tran being Vietnamese, Bowen Yang being Chinese.
And Joan Chen, who plays Angela's mother, is also Chinese.
Yes, and we were speaking about Twin Peaks before we started recording, and I was like, love to see Joan Chen still killing it. Have you both seen Didi?
No, I heard it was great.
That's another one where Joan Chen's performance will just destroy you in that.
There's another film that I haven't seen that I desperately want to see starring Joan Chen called Saving Face.
Oh yeah, I really want to see that.
Yeah, it's another queer love story with Joan Chen. And I'm just like, give it to me, please.
And did the director of that do the half of it, which is
referenced in this movie?
In this film?
Yes, she did. And I have a fact on the half of it in my notes. The half of it is another queer love story and is one of the films Lily Gladstone is getting rid of whilst de-queerifying the house. And I was like, but the half of it is a Netflix movie. There is no DVD of the half of it. What is happening here? She also gets rid of a German DVD copy of Certain Women, which stars Lily Gladstone, which I was just sort of like, oh, that's a nice little nod.
Listeners, if you also spotted that, please write it and tell us. Because I want to know if anyone else matches Jack's level of nerd.
Well, so I obviously noticed it, but that's because I work at Netflix.
I was thinking this when I noticed it. I literally saw it and I was just like, that DVD can't exist. unless it's a screener. But why would they have access to Academy screeners?
Well, because she was an actress before her job became being gay.
Maybe.
I have a fun piece of Joan Chen trivia. Do we know about this, that she was supposed to play the bride in the original Wedding Banquet?
So in my misinformation, always thought she was in the original, but I was probably thinking of Saving Face. So you saying that doesn't surprise me so much.
Yeah.
So she had the talk with Ang Lee right when she first moved to the US, or maybe he had just graduated film school. It was like very, very early in their careers. But by the time he got the funding, it didn't work out. Like maybe the studio went in a different direction, or she was too old, or something changed.
Doing something else. I think like around that time, that would have been post the time she'd been in Twin Peaks and stuff like that. So her career had probably taken off. But
it sounded from the interviews like she was really disappointed she didn't get to do it.
I think she dodged a bullet, quite frankly.
You've got to delve into this.
Yeah. Because what if we just never let you explain, and for the rest of the episode you're like, I think it sucks.
To lead into it, I think I do prefer the remake just slightly, but I do like them both quite a bit. But I'd love to know, Ali, what's grinding at you for the original?
Well, you know that I love the remake or the reimagining, and I think that it's so brilliant as a celebration of queer joy and like lots of intersectionality there. And it's by a queer director. Interestingly, though, one of the writers of the remake was one of the writers on the original.
James Schamus, yeah.
And so I was just so disappointed by, I was following the film along and like, hey, yeah, seeing the differences, great. I was with it right up until that wedding night scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That is the worst part of that movie, for sure.
Yeah, that's pretty horrifying. And it really shows the difference in the way that marital rape is viewed.
Mm-hmm.
Because it, I believe, was still legal in the 90s in the US. And the fact that that was seen as just a like little plot bump in a rom-com, whereas now I found it horrifying.
I was listening to the Blank Check episode on this film, which came out a few years ago before a remake was ever discussed. They talk about that scene. They talk about how, it is like an unfortunate scene to have in your movie. And they say like, there's a better version of that scene. I'm like, yeah, it exists in the remake now.
Yes, they handled that perfectly in the remake.
Yeah, it's almost insane that it happens in the original like it does, because they have a whole sequence of him being like, oh, I don't like make me drink. I get drunk just watching beer commercials, and everybody's making him drink. And I thought, oh, that's going to lead to it. And that's not it.
People get drunk and do things that are out of character all the time.
It happens in this movie, in the remake. It's genuinely how they handle it, and you don't really question it so much in this one.
The way he characterizes it is things got out of hand, and it's like, no, things didn't get out of hand. You were actively assaulted.
And then it catalyzes the rest. I'm like, oh, surely they're going to tackle this or acknowledge that this is a horrible thing that's happened. But no, it's a celebration that she's going to have this grandchild and everyone's delighted about it.
It's just seen as a non-issue, like, oh, we just kind of made a mistake. It's like, no, that's not a non-issue. That's such a bad thing. And it doesn't deal with it, which I think is indicative of the time, which does not make it okay. But I understand how it was viewed at the time. It was just very, very shocking for me.
I also, this is not an issue anywhere near that, but I completely lost track of, time in that movie, because, the way it's played, the next day, she is, fully pregnant.
Yeah, I was like, that's not how that works. Was she having morning sickness, or what was the...
It was literally morning sickness the next day.
That's not how that works.
It may be, 2 days later.
Written by a man.
I was just about to say.
I'm going to say, as a man watching it, I was so confused. I was like, it can't be this.
Written by a man in the 90s. This is why we need diversity and inclusion. Get women in writers' rooms.
Quite. And then I was remembering that, there was Chasing Amy and so many other, egregious films around the time. And so, actually, I can see why something like the original Wedding Banquet was celebrated. And
Oscar nominated.
Oh, well, there we go. I think that where the original worked better for me was that it felt like a really Asian film. And I think where the remake really works for me is it feels like a really queer film.
The original is part of what Ang Lee calls his Father Knows Best trilogy. I do think there's a lot more about Asian parentage in that movie and sort of appeasing your parents. That seems less important for the remake. And that's fine. That is more a sign of the times and how we've moved forward. And it is dealt with in the remake, but it's dealt with in a different way, and to me, a more engaging way.
That's, for me, my favorite scene in the remake is the Joan Chen and Kelly Marie Tran in the bathroom when she does that single tear rolling down Jack's cheek.
There's so many wonderful sequences in this movie. I've seen a few people be a bit snotty on this movie on Letterboxd, and I genuinely can't understand it.
I mean, it's a lightweight film, as in it feels like a 90-minute kind of watch it on streaming film, but that's why I loved it. So I can imagine that maybe people were like, oh, this isn't a prestige, heavy-hitting.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I see it as that. For me, the biggest difference between the original and the remake is that the original is much more a rom-com, whereas this one, I think, is a drama. It is a family drama where most of the family just don't happen to be blood related. And I'm not saying it's not funny, because it's a really, really funny movie, but genre-wise, to me, it feels like a drama. And in my head, I'm like, who decides the genres on these films? Like, who labels these? Because to me, somebody went, we're going for that musical or comedy Golden Globe. Like, it feels like an awards bait kind of movie, but not in the way that like really, really heavy, really dark things are. And I might be completely wrong.
There's no wrong or right in this. The to categorize stuff within the Golden Globes is an insane sort of world where, you know, The Martian was up for best musical or comedy.
Right. But doesn't it feel like a strategic move sometimes to label something a comedy?
Yes, it does. It's funny you say that, though. I feel the exact opposite way about these two movies.
Yes, I feel probably the same as you, Jack.
Yeah, watching the original, I found that felt much more like a sort of romantic drama. In fact, more just a drama. Like, there is romance in that movie, but I think it is far more leaning into the parental side of things. And especially like the last act, when there is that like heart-wrenching scene where the mother is talking to YY about how she's giving back the gifts. And she's like, keep the gifts, just keep being my daughter-in-law. I was like, fuck me, this is like and then when they're leaving to go to the abortion, and she's like, wait for me, I'll come shopping with you, because they've said that they're going shopping, and if she knows if she's there, it won't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching that and I'm like, this is devastating.
Yeah.
In a way that like any comedy that's been within this movie already is kind of evaporated for me. And the difference in the remake is the wedding's actually hysterical in the remake.
Yeah, it is.
This like harks back to something that Jamie Lynn Watson was saying on our Anyone But You episode, is how important it is to have comedic actors in your comedy movies. That is no slight on the original actors, because I do think the performances in the original are really strong. But in this, we do have people like Bowen Yang, who is like so funny. And actually playing a little against type in this, because of all the characters, he kind of feels like the straight man.
In the comedy sense,
yes.
and not the...
No. Thank you for that. But yeah, like Ji-chun is like so funny in this.
So funny.
His delivery is really endearing and really funny as well.
It's his first film in English.
Yes.
Which is so cool. And one of the things he said was that when you sort of switch languages, you're using a different part of the brain. And so because he was in Vancouver shooting this film for a month or whatever, and then went back home to Korea, started speaking Korean again, he felt like he had woken up from a dream and like it never really happened. I think that's such an interesting concept, the language thing, because I'm a very boring monolingual American. And I find it so interesting when I talk to actors who act in multiple languages. Like Javier Bardem said that the way he connected to his role in No Country for Old Men was that when he speaks in English, he understands the meaning of the words, but he doesn't get this rush of feelings and associations. Like if he says love, he doesn't feel it. He just says it.
Yeah.
So this character was so cold and so detached and distant and like, whoa.
I like the way you phrased that though, because you were like, I love when I talk to actors who can play in two different like languages.
Oh, like Javier Bardem.
Like Javier Bardem said this.
Like when I was hanging out with Javier Bardem. I was
chatting to Javier.
I mean, to be clear, we are not like super tight. Me and Javier Bardem were like casual acquaintances. I've never met Javier Bardem. But I have worked with actors who had English as a second language, and we were sort of working on like translating Shakespeare back into their native language and, you know, those kinds of things. And that's, you know, really interesting.
It's Yuh-jung's second English language. movie. First one she did, she won the Oscar for. So, though, of course, she does spend most of it speaking Korean. And same for Minari as well.
Coming back to the what genre is this film? And for me, it's a coming-of-age film. It feels so millennial, but I think what was so relatable about the Angela and the Chris characters was that they both consider themselves just fuck-ups who are just like going through the motions of life. And this is this kind of crossroads in their lives of like, am I going to do that adult thing here or just keep going on with a life of mediocrity and no responsibilities? That was interesting to see. And I think you said, Nora, that it feels so modern. And that for me was why I was like, oh, this is so our generation.
That's such an astute point that it's a coming of age film, but millennials come of age in our 30s.
Once again, I'm reminded of our Anyone But You episode where in that movie, Sydney Sweeney tells us over and over again, my life's a mess. I'm a disaster. And we never believe it for a second.
That girl is such a disaster. She's a law school dropout.
Like, everything's going wrong. But with this, when these characters are like genuinely facing like their insecurities, you can feel it. When, you know, in coming up to the end of the movie, Bowen Yang is talking about like, what if the baby is like me? Oh. And I don't think he means that in like, what if it's gay? What if it's this? He means it in just like, what if it's a disappointment? Yeah,
what if that baby is putting off writing his dissertation and is bird watching?
Oh, that's something that I noted because I watched Fire Island yesterday, which I hadn't seen before. And Bowen Yang is also keeping a sketchbook in that film. I was like, are these his actual drawings? Is this like a side?
I hope not. Because I swear to God, if he's that talented, if he's that funny and that cool, and he can also draw, go to hell, Bowen Yang. I love you.
One of my notes for this movie is just like, because I think I said in our Fire Island episode, I didn't really know Bowen Yang when I first watched Fire Island. And
now you're best mates.
Yeah, now we are. Now we're best mates.
Me, Jack, Bowen Yang, Javier Bardem. Just hanging out all the time.
Bowen Yang is the gift we never knew we needed. Everything I've seen him in now, he's always pitch perfect for what he's doing. From this to Fire Island to Wicked, every time I see him, just a smile on my face. And of course SNL as well. Like, he's so funny constantly on SNL.
When you were mentioning Sydney Sweeney, I was thinking about the Bowen is Straight sketch on SNL. And that may have popped into my head a few times watching The Wedding Banquet.
Another thing that just popped into my head of just thinking about is that really, really lovely moment where Min leaves after the realization that Angela and Chris have had sex and are now expecting a baby.
Yeah, after their bachelorette club night, which is my favorite scene in the movie. Just want to throw that out there.
When Min leaves, Angela comes over and she's like, Min broke up with you? And Chris is like, no, I broke up with him.
Which is crazy.
It's justifiably crazy. You know what I mean? Like, the movie knows it's crazy. It's not like something that you're like, oh, well, that's insane. Nobody would do that. You get it because Chris is like, has like low self-esteem.
Self-destruction.
I mean, honestly, I've been there. I can feel it.
Oh, yeah, I think it's insane as a thing for Chris to do. I don't think it's insane as a plot point.
That's where this film for me is so successful, is that the plot on paper is so preposterous, but it feels so grounded because each of the characters feels like real people who we would know, and they're so beautifully embodied by these actors that you're like, yeah, okay, I can go along with this.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think the original movie is drama in like romantic comedy trappings. It's got a romantic comedy plot, but actually brings out the drama of it all, which I think is very interesting. And I think this movie does lean into more of its
It's zany. A rom-com in drama trappings.
A little bit. It is that moment of like, this is so zany when they're like, they have this plan. But yeah, just as soon as the plan gets shot down, they're still going to have the wedding banquet. But as soon as the grandmother, and I was like, yeah, no, fuck off. Fuck off with your crazy, like, hijinks.
I did not come here to be on a farce.
Yeah.
This is not happening.
It throws a spanner into the works in such an interesting way. And the film has to deal with that. But the characters feel like they're from a drama, not from a romantic comedy. And yet they're dealing with the romantic comedy of it all. Nobody's stupid in this movie. You know what I mean? Nobody's stupid like, oh yeah, they're definitely not gay. Like, while in the original, they have the wedding and like Mitchell Lichtenstein is like dabbing his partner's face like with a cloth like after he kisses the bride, and I'm just like, if anybody is watching this and doesn't see, there's something weird about the fact that this man is constantly following him around.
That was a packed wedding reception. And the speeches were like, we've been friends since we were kids. And none of you were like, we've literally never heard of this woman before.
One of them mentions it, and they're like, oh, you're getting married. And I saw you last week, and I've only just heard about this woman this week. Like,
I must have missed that in all the kerfuffle with the subtitles.
I do think it's also a comment on the fact in 1993, you just wouldn't expect anybody to be gay.
It's giving a, hang on a minute. There's no fire exits in this lesbian bar.
Yes, it is. Because what we've not actually talked about is like the IVF of it all, which is a new wrinkle to the plot that's not in the original, because the remake introduces lesbians to the world.
Yeah, so in the original, the bride is a straight woman, and it's complicated by the fact that she's kind of in love with the man she ends up marrying, or at least very attracted to him, which makes the whole thing really imbalanced. Whereas this, it's a gay man and a lesbian woman, which makes the whole thing feel a lot like a business arrangement.
Yeah. The twist of it all is that Angela and Lee are trying to have a child, though Angela feels less invested in that than Lee is. And of course, Angela ends up being pregnant.
Isn't it always the way? The people who don't want kids are like so fertile. I was an egg donor. It's how I raised the money to move over here. So I have done the IVF process, and it's really intense. And I also know that it's really expensive. And the fact that they've done 2 failed rounds of IVF and Angela has not in that time mentioned that she has doubts about having kids just really speaks to how, this sort of core thing about her character is that she does not say the thing. Everything is under the surface. Everything is hidden. Everything is suppressed with her. And that is wild to me because I say everything.
Yes, you do. The bit where she starts saying to Lee, like, what if we just take the money and travel? That's the heart-wrenching moment, like, for that couple for me.
The way my bread is buttered, I was like, hell yeah, just go to Thailand, babe. Like, take the money and go.
Same. Like, I get going, like, oh my God, I love you. I want to have experiences with you. And if we have a child, then our whole life becomes about this child, as it should, because you're responsible for another human being. But like, how beautiful to just be like so in love with your partner and to not want or need anything else.
I mean, that's another thing that I think is really beautiful about this movie is, and again, we'll talk about this more later, but the chemistry between the couples is phenomenal. Like, Angela and Lee, Lily Gladstone's coming off an Oscar nominated, probably should have won performance from Killers of the Flower Moon. And Kelly Marie Tran is a fantastic actress, and I won't hear another word about it. And you 100% believe this couple has a history, the way they live together. Another scene I really love is when they're talking about weddings and Lee just talks about they're like, oh, but you hate weddings. No, I love weddings.
Anti-institution, pro-celebration.
Yeah, and I thought that sort of moment harkened back to the original for me because it was talking about like how weddings are people and culture and it's everything I love about weddings as well, actually. I love the pomp and circumstance of a wedding. And I love the romance of it all. I don't care much for the institution. I fucking hate a lot of it, to be honest. But I love a wedding in the sense that it is a chance for 2 people to come together and celebrate the best of their culture and the best of themselves as the only married person in the room. Do you want to talk more on this, Ali?
Well, I wanted to add off the back of what you were saying. I think this film is so subtly clever and kind of weaves its points in a little under the radar. And so something that really stuck out for me both times watching it was at the traditional Korean wedding when they're throwing the jujubes and the chestnuts and they all turn around and they're like, wait, what does this tradition mean? Where did it come from? And so I love that idea of not being stuck in the kind of evil of traditions, but being like, okay, this is fun. This is a nice way to mark an occasion, but just like tearing up the rule book of what a family is, what a couple is. Did that really brilliantly.
The idea is that one of them signifies sons and one is daughters, but nobody can remember which is which. And so Chris's cousin, Kendall, goes, they're going to have 15 non-binary children.
And genuinely, that was my biggest laugh in the movie. I thought that was such a funny moment.
That character is also incredible.
And it leads to another really beautiful moment with Chris, where talking about, like, you don't need to worry about being a dad because you've been a great dad to me.
Oh,
this is a really good movie.
It is. We were just talking about biggest laughs.
Yes.
And I would be remiss if I didn't give my customary list of just like the funniest moments.
Yeah, no, please.
I really enjoyed when the grandmother is kind of revealing that she knows about the con, but it's all in Korean. And Ange leans over and whispers, "She knows."
It's a really good moment.
It's the funniest bit for me.
Again, like a kind of reverse moment from the original when they're having the big fight in English in front of Chinese parents. And the parents are just sort of sitting there eating while this massive fight is going on. And obviously they've kind of picked up on stuff from that. But it is a nice little reversal of that.
I also enjoyed, she's not insane, just American. And Min summing up his grandmother's objections with, "She thinks we're dumb." And I'll leave you finally with gay lover, baby daddy, identification. That was great.
That actually ties back to what you were saying about the way the wedding ends up. The City Hall wedding is really joyous and a really lovely, like very rom-com-y. Ends up going into like full rom-com mode at the end. And I'm so okay with it. The fact that you've got like Chris coming in the dragon costume.
That was so funny. And Angela's reaction, like, she hears those drums in her dreams.
And of course the drums open the movie at the P-Flag Awards.
Yes. And they just haunt her.
Yeah.
They're following her everywhere she goes.
There's actually just so many like types of relationships that are dealt with in this movie. The relationship between Angela and her mother, the idea that someone can love you and support you, but you can actually hate them for it, is something, and I might have to cut this out in case she ever listens, but it's something I go through with my mum an awful lot. And I'm not an Asian lesbian. But
what?
Twist!
The fact that you felt the need to clarify that.
Well, I it's been a while, but I haven't mentioned I am Captain Straight Man on these episodes. But I felt that so much.
That is such an interesting, this idea of Angela came out, her mother initially reacted very badly and essentially abandoned her, and then did a little soul searching, rebranded, and like swooped back in to be like mom of the year, like ally number one, and made it her whole personal brand. And it stopped being about Angela. And they never discussed the part where she abandoned her in her moment of need. And that feels so real.
Yeah.
And so nuanced.
It actually leads to another one of my favorite like laughs of the movie is when they're getting ready to take the wedding pictures. And the grandmother is like, "Does she know?" And then it cuts and the mum is now involved. And like to the point where like she is like stepping kind of in front of the wedding photo saying we need more.
In front of the bride.
Yeah, it's a really nice. I also love that they're taking all these pictures. And one of them is just like a ski trip for the mum and daughter. I don't know what really that was supposed to be, but it's very funny to watch. It's
like very tacky but expensive studio photos.
Yeah.
Which they also had in the first one, right? They had a photo shoot.
Yes.
It was less cool.
No, it's not as funny. I know you said you think this one is not as much of a rom-com as the original.
I actually don't think either of them are rom-coms. It's like, I think it's a drama that's also really funny and the end is full rom-com, and do not at me. I can't explain what I mean.
If we had a list of rom-com tropes, I don't think it would tick that many because there's no meet cute. The couples have been together for years.
It's funny you say that. We do have a list of rom-com tropes that I have been tracking.
Oh.
One of the ones this one does fit is the idea of a relationship. Yes, a wedding. A relationship under false pretenses.
There's an unexpected pregnancy.
That's a good point. I don't think that's on the list. We should add it. But you're right that the lack of meet cute is what makes it not sort of a traditional rom-com. There's conflict in the relationships, but it's more about the family structure than it is about the relationships.
If you each were a character in this film, who would you be? I know my answer.
I think I'm Min.
I love that.
I think I am.
I want to be Min.
You wouldn't be Min.
Okay.
I think I'm Min with a touch of Chris.
You're their baby.
Min and Chris's baby.
I don't remember who the parents are of that one.
Well, Min and Chris can't have a baby. I'm just going to tell you right now.
What?
It's like that scene where they're like, I hope the baby has your eyes. And Angela goes, it's not my sperm. And Lee says, yeah, I can still hope. Which is really sweet.
I would be lawyer son.
You would.
Because she's so stern and cold the whole time. And
yeah, because you're very stern and cold. That's the vibe I'm getting from you.
That's how I feel inside. But when she's sat there at the wedding and she just has a single tear roll down her cheek.
I am a mix of the grandmother and the mother.
Yeah, you are. You fucking are.
Yeah. I will not explain anymore.
The more I talk about it, the more I just think about how much I really connect with this movie. It's interesting, as I talked about the box office there, 2 million, 2.3 worldwide. I think it's interesting to see that the original was actually technically the most profitable movie of its year. And that's a year where Jurassic Park came out.
It's also the year that I came out.
Oh, shit.
And did you recoup your budget?
As a surrogate baby, I've definitely not recouped my budget. I was a poor investment. I think it's interesting that this movie comes in the shadow of its original, which was at the time, a kind of landmark hit for Asian cinema. Like so much so that Ang Lee's previous movie got released after it, being like, this is from the maker of The Wedding Banquet. Not something that happens very often now. And I hope this movie finds its place. I hope that people see it, because I actually think it's a very important movie for the time. And it's really good.
It deserves to be a massive hit. I hope it does get that awards buzz. It feels to me like it should.
I feel like it came out at the wrong time for anything like that. And it's not made enough of a splash.
And there was I see this as kind of the next film after Crazy Rich Asians with such an Asian cast. And I think that unfortunately we see so often in the industry that there's, other than Crazy Rich Asians, because it was perceived as the first, which obviously it wasn't, this just had no fanfare around it. And whether that's because it was a queer story or a people of color story, they just tend to get buried, I think, when it should be so much more celebrated.
It should be. I do wonder if this would have made more of a splash on streaming, but honestly, I think it could have just ended up being buried on streaming as well.
Not if I'd been doing the PR for it, Jack.
No, I believe you would have worked very hard on it. I'm glad it's on this list. It's the most recent film on the list, because I think it came out 2 months after Mad About a Boy, which is the other film from this year on the list. And I think that says a lot, to be honest. And hopefully that indicates that people are taking notice.
I'm also thrilled that Andrew Ahn has 2 films on the list, because he doesn't have that many films to his name.
No, these are the only 2 I've seen and absolutely love.
He also directed 2 episodes of Bridgerton,
Ooh.
including the infamous carriage scene episode.
Fucking
wow.
hell.
If that changes your opinions at all.
I mean, no, that genuinely, I'm just what the fuck? Me and Nora have talked about that scene on countless occasions. Andrew Ahn might be one of the most discussed directors in the fucking world based on that scene.
Honestly, yeah.
So I just can't wait to see what he does next. I mean, he's still a relatively young guy and has a lot to say, obviously.
It's a fucking baller move to make this movie. To be I'm going to step in and remake probably the most famous Asian director's early film. It's such a nice way of I'm going to put my stamp on this. I'm going to show the world what I have to say about it.
He had a really personal connection with the film. I think what he said in an interview was his mom was like, oh, there's this movie with Asian people in it that white people are watching. We should watch it. And so they rented it and watched it as a family. He was 8 years old and they did not know it was a gay movie. So it was his first queer film.
It was his, but I'm a cheerleader for me.
And he just really connected with it. And that was a really formative moment for him. And apparently the conflict in the remake is pulled out of his own relationship. He said he sort of took his relationship and split it between the 2 couples. I'm assuming that's the marriage question and the kids question, 1 per couple. And something he said in that interview was, well, now that we can get married, should we? It gives you a new and different conflict. And he said that some of the lines were things that he and his boyfriend have said in fights.
Wow.
And it feels like that, like the specificity of the dialogue. It feels so real. You said it was sort of a really insane premise, and I agree. But at the same time, it's so grounded.
I think that's something that came across in Fire Island as well. Like the dialogue in that really sparkles, and like the way people talked felt like the way people actually talk.
And the way people look, and everything just felt like it could have been a documentary.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't feel overly polished in a really nice way.
It just felt so intimate. And that aside from the two wedding scenes, I guess, the courthouse wedding and the Korean wedding, it was just really a chamber piece of the four of them and the mother and grandmother.
And the cousin.
And the cousin. Yeah, can't forget the cousin.
I have one more thing in my notes that I would be sad if I didn't say it. The wedding clothes. So obviously this beautiful Korean wedding ceremony is like the big centerpiece of the film. And clothing is obviously so important. Something we haven't discussed is that Min is an artist, and he makes these really beautiful textile collages. We see him sewing in the background of several scenes, and it turns out he's made like a garment for his grandmother. I looked it up. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but it's called a jagori. It's the like little short jacket that they wear over the long skirts. And when she turns up to the wedding, she's wearing the one he made and not the one she bought. And I wept, because that is like in a culture and a family culture and a global culture where you can't talk about things explicitly. That is such a beautiful way to be like, I'm with you, I accept you. And then it leads us into the beautiful scene at the end where she says, I see that you have done in your art what you have done in your life, which is you have taken these separate pieces and you have brought them together and made them into something beautiful. And I'm going to cry while I'm saying this.
Well, yeah, and it's that thing of like how the movie ends up, you know? And with Min just saying, like, before we do anything, let's have a group hug. It is, again, Min, like, taking these separate pieces and bringing them together.
I'm, like, actually crying now. That's a milestone. I haven't cried during a recording yet.
No, like how Jack took the separate parts of his life, aka me, and brought me to this podcast. The bit that made me tear up was that bathroom scene with Joan Chen, where she says something like, you won't be a perfect mother. Well, she said, you might even be worse than me.
That was my second time crying.
Yeah, I cried then too. She's making the point that you'll learn from your children in the way that she has learned from Angela, which is a beautiful sentiment.
I cried early on at the line of, I only asked you to marry me because I thought you would say yes.
Oh. It's a pretty cheap shot for Chris to accuse Min of it being a green card wedding when they've been together for 5 years and it's a real relationship. Like, that's a bit of a low blow.
Chris can be a dick in this movie.
Yeah, he has his moments.
And yet, because it's Bowen Yang, you still like the guy.
Yeah. So true.
I also feel like we have to just talk about the wonderful wedding sequence of Angela on Min's back being carried around.
It's related to my wouldn't do.
You wouldn't get on someone's back.
I wouldn't stay on when I knew vomit was imminent.
I don't think she did. There's been no reason to get to the vomit stage.
Not the intense nausea?
All right. It's also a better, like, oh my God, I'm pregnant moment than the original.
Yeah, that's true.
It's such a great little set piece in the wedding that when I originally watched this, I was like, oh, this must be from the original movie. It's so funny.
I read that Andrew On, actually, coming back to your point, Nora, about these were real conversations that he'd had with his partner and stuff. He invited his parents down for when they shot the wedding scene because he said he'd essentially just planned the whole thing like it was his own wedding. Revealing which side of the fence he's clearly on in his own relationship there, I think. If you follow me on Letterboxd, you'll see that one of my tags that I often use is Pisces directors. So I myself am a Pisces, and I feel like kind of woo-woo hippie, but when I'm watching a film, I can always tell when it's been directed by a Pisces. And Andrew On is such a Pisces director.
What are the giveaways?
Pisces, we kind of exist in our own world, but are hypersensitive, and like it's an intangible thing. I'm guessing neither of you is a Pisces.
We're both Cancers.
Hey. Well, water sign. Okay. Yeah, there's just a vibe.
I'm sure Theater Camp was directed by a Cancer.
That's such a good point. The soundtrack of this movie is great. Mm-hmm. Did we have songs we wanted to add to our rom-com playlist.
I'm going to be really surprised if you and I don't have the same song.
I think probably all three have the same song.
Oh no, what was your song?
Was it Young Hearts Run Free?
No.
Oh.
Mine was Let Me Live My Life.
Oh, fuck. We've all got different songs. Mine was by the Linda Lindas.
All great choices. I'm pretty sure that, so it's Let Me Live My Life by Sounds Like Fun. I'm pretty sure it was one of the bachelor party club numbers. And if not, it was giving that vibe. And I was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I'm trying to curate a playlist here, you know?
That's true.
Got to keep the vibes up.
I always played during the de-gaying the house.
Oh my God, yes.
It's just a very sort of fun, like, it's like, oh, we're going to kick into high energy. And it is, before obviously the scheme is deconstructed, it is the most schemy part of the movie.
There's a lot of Asian American artists in the soundtrack that I'd never heard of either. So because you'd set the challenge of picking a song, I was kind of learning about new artists through that as well.
Oh, I love that.
Would do, wouldn't do, have done?
My would is really tame.
Okay.
I would live in my best friend's garage. I feel like that sounds like a fun idea.
Because I'm not super into the institution of marriage, I would marry someone for a purely practical reason, like a visa or money for IVF or, whatever it may be. I have been lucky enough that I did not need to get married for a visa, but there was a time when I might have had to, and I thought about it.
That's a good one. I'm with you on that. Mine was really small fry, but I would wear Lily Gladstone's crochet cardigan that she wears to work one day.
That's such a good one.
Lily Gladstone's outfits in this movie are fucking phenomenal.
The red one?
Yeah.
Oh, the garden. Even what she wears to garden is
when she comes in, she just looks so incredibly well put together. Like,
we haven't talked about the costumes enough in this. Like, also Joan Chen's costumes. She's wearing glitter in almost every scene, which is so perfect.
Yeah.
She's like, the eyes must be on me. What wouldn't you do?
I love a scheme. I'm a big schemer. If someone proposes a scheme, I usually want to be involved. I love a con. I feel like in a different world, I could have been a con artist. Maybe I am. Maybe this whole podcast is a con.
This is a great cover for your life as a con artist, just publicly saying that you're not one. I
love a con. And this is a con movie, essentially. And I tell you what con I wouldn't get involved with. This con. This scheme.
My wouldn't do was obviously staying on someone's back if I knew I was about to vomit. I would have ducked out of there, thrown up, come back. I'm very practical. I also have more experience on stage than Angela has. So, you learn to problem solve very quickly in those moments.
Humble brag.
But I mean, the show must go on, right? And when you are not well, you figure out how to fix that.
Yeah.
And I have run off stage to throw up and then come back on before. So
I wouldn't have been able to forgive Angela if I were the...
Wow.
I'm not that big a person.
Honestly, the fact that these relationships will end up okay at the end is the biggest part of fiction in this movie.
It'd be different, I think, if they weren't gay. It's the fact that their friendship is so well established as being non-sexual, platonic, like this deep friendship. People do weird things when they're drunk. And to me, like, that's pretty harmless. You could certainly cheat in worse ways. Jack, what have you done?
I have held a small wooden bird, but not in a ceremonial context.
Great. What was the context?
My grandma used to have like this wooden duck.
Great.
And I remember like picking it up. It's another moment I really love is when Bowen Yang is posing.
I love the conversation about, like, so traditionally I would carry a live goose into the ceremony, which oddly aligns with my interests. I have had my boyfriend kiss me right after I moisturized and then say, ew, slimy.
Very specific. Mine is also very specific in that I have handmade a garment to be worn to a traditional Korean wedding.
That is so specific. And you let me just talk about that scene like I was the authority on it.
Well, I knew that this would be coming later.
Ali knows how to captivate an audience.
But also at that wedding, we did the thing where you throw the chestnuts into the fabric, and that couple are expecting their first child in like 3 weeks.
Their non-binary child.
So yeah, let's see which one out, the dates or the jujubes.
Oh, we'll never really know.
No, we'll just say it was one or the other.
That's so sweet.
That is really sweet.
And you sew as well.
Crochet.
Oh, crochet.
I'll show you the dress later.
I would love to see that.
Shall we move on to the rom-com breakdown? For those who don't know, that's the romantic comedy breakdown.
Thank God you explained.
It's really confusing. The rom-com breakdown is a scientifically proven theory where we rate rom-coms. First up, on scales of 1 to 5, we look at leads and chemistry.
Question, who are the leads in this film?
That is up to you. I feel like the leads to me are the core 4.
I agree with that. But I think the chemistry cuts multiple ways.
And it's stronger in some parts than in others, I would say.
Ooh.
I landed at a 4 out of 5 on this one. Because for the most part, I am very happy with everybody's chemistry. But I do know what you mean when you say something like, should Lee have forgiven Angela? Maybe. There's a lot going on in this movie. But for the most part, I love the way the couples interact. I love how they also interact with each other as friends, and why I can believe in that ending where it becomes a unit. Nora?
I said 4.5. I thought they all had great chemistry. I particularly liked the chemistry between Angela and Chris as besties. Every relationship was believable. I believed Lee and Min hanging out, and I believed the romance between the couples. I think I wanted the story to allow more romance between Angela and Lee.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that their chemistry was wrong or that they couldn't play it. It's that there weren't enough opportunities. I wanted a really sweet moment for them. We did get one, which is their silent exchange when Lee is pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
That was really, really, really beautiful. Give me more of that. Let them be happy, please.
Overall, for me, a 3.5, because I love, for example, Angela and Chris's friendship. And I did think Angela and Lee were really amazing together just because they were both just such phenomenal dramatic actors, I think. But I didn't buy Chris and Min as a couple.
Oh.
And I also didn't think that Min and Angela had any kind of chemistry there as friends. So overall, 3.5 for me.
I feel like the Min and Angela thing leads into them getting married. They are the ones who have the least amount of chemistry, and so to put them together as a married couple is an interesting way to go. But I also don't think the film plays enough with that.
Yeah, it helps the comedy that they are such an odd match.
I guess Chris is her friend and Min is Chris's boyfriend. And it seems like Lee has established more of an independent relationship with Min than Angela has.
Again, I feel like that makes the characters feel lived in.
Yeah, I guess it's real.
Supporting characters. I gave this a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, 5, right? Surely.
Yeah, if we're talking about the mother and grandmother, spectacular.
Yeah.
Academy Award worthy. Simple. Done.
Lawyer's son, let's not forget.
Oh my God, Lawyer's son.
And Kendall, I just think is one of the best characters in this film.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
5 out of 5.
Yeah.
And the duck, actually. That wooden duck.
The duck was a star.
Plot. I've gone 4 out of 5.
I've gone 4.5.
I'm going to join you on a 4.5. It's just so layered. I mean, even just based on how much we've had to chop up over the past couple of hours.
I agree. The more I talk about it, I probably could lean towards a 4.5. The fact is, there is so much in there, and it is so densely packed that you almost forget about it, which is probably why I'm still more at a 4 out of 5.
I also gave it the extra 0.5 from the 4 because it had the original to contend with, and that's really hard to have that in existence. And I think it kind of corrected a lot of the issues that I had with the original in a really smart way.
I think that's a really good point. It stands on its own compared to the original, and I think that's incredible.
I agree.
So now we get to the what I feel is going to be the most interesting part of the show. Sorry, it's all been so dull till now. But it's the rom-com scale. Closer to 0 is more of a romance. Closer to 100 is more of a comedy. 50 is that perfect balance of rom and com. How are we feeling?
I'm happy to start us off.
Kick it off.
I'm going in with a 50. But my caveat is that this is a drama.
This is my Kissing Jessica Stein 50, where I'm just it's not enough of either.
Exactly. It kind of needs more of both to qualify as a rom-com for me. But that being said, they were balanced. And I loved all the romance. I loved all the comedy. They were both very successful and effective. I just think genre-wise, this film is a drama.
I think that if the other end of the scale had been love and comedy, familial love, friendship love, romantic love, but not a romantic film. So yeah, I didn't really know. I couldn't land on a particular number with this.
I went 35.
So more romance.
Yeah. And maybe this is just like saying a lot more about me. The things I think that I find romantic are not possibly what the rest of the world finds romantic.
So quirky.
I'm so different.
So unique.
Honestly, guys.
Not like other girls.
No, I'm a cool grandma. I find the sort of concept of like, we've talked about this with like sweethearts, that sort of like romance within friendship, like how you should fall in love with your friends. Mm-hmm. And it is not a traditional romance, but I do think there is a romance in there.
Well, you saying that, I'm going to actually put a flag in the sand and I'm going to say 65 because it's leaning for me towards like a Shakespearean comedy of errors kind of vibe.
I like that.
I like that I've gone 50 and you two have gone 15 on either side. That feels right for this movie because yes to all of it.
I like it. We all have like difference of opinions on this, but like all coming together in a sort of like calm, friendly, loving of the movie way.
Well, yeah, I think we all agree it's really good.
Yeah, but we agree it in different ways, which is really cool. It's unexpected. Like that TV show, Life Unexpected. Remember that one?
No.
So, Ali, thank you so much for joining us for this episode.
Thank you for having me.
Such a delight to have you on the show.
Been a blast. I feel honored.
Is there anything you'd like to plug or like promote?
I guess I will plug my own Letterboxd, which is Ali Russell, ALLYRUSSELL. See you there.
And keep watching Netflix.
Yeah, people are doing that anyway.
What are the good Netflix rom-coms you'd recommend?
Well, the half of it we discussed, I really liked. You know, I loved Love Hard, that Christmas one.
Interesting.
It's on my list. I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it.
You know, there's an Amazon Christmas rom-com that I'm also really love and watch every year, which is Something from Tiffany's. Zoe Deutsch.
I love Zoe Deutsch.
I love Zoe Deutsch.
My favorite Netflix rom-com is Set It Up.
Oh, yes, of course. There must be so many I'm forgetting.
I mean, I really love Hitman.
Is that a rom-com?
I'd say the romance is an important part of it.
Have you seen Someone Great with Lakeith Stanfield?
No, I haven't. I love him.
We've got the To All the Boys I've Loved Before.
Those are brilliant. Anything with Noah Centineo, basically, is a winner.
Mm-hmm.
Street Fighter coming soon. Excellent. Well, yeah, thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy to chat with you and bring my worlds together.
Likewise. Thank you.
Like Min's collages. This has been When Rom Met Com. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at When Rom Met Com. There are links there to the Vanity Fair article, to our Letterboxd, and any other fun things that we want to share. You can DM us or send us an email at mail@whenrommet.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the films, what rom-coms you think should have made the list, your best would-dos, wouldn't-dos, and have-dones, or anything else you'd like to hear about. If you've had a nice time today, please consider leaving us a review or following us wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and remember, we don't hate you. Not even a little bit. Not even at all. See you next time.